Welcome to the Doubles Only Tennis Podcast, where you learn the best doubles strategies to improve your game and win more matches. I'm your host, Will Bocek. This podcast, my website, and my weekly newsletter all focus on the goal of better understanding the sport of doubles and helping players like you improve faster through actionable advice that you can use in your very next match. My goal is to provide the best doubles strategy resources in the world. And to do that, I study, analyze, and work with players at every level of the game, all the way up to the ATP and WTA tours. If you enjoy this podcast, I've created doubles strategy products that go even deeper if you want to take your doubles knowledge to the next level. At the end of this episode, I'll explain more about them, or if you want to learn more now, go to thetennistribe.com/products. Here's today's episode. So I've been doing this podcast for almost 5 years now, and my favorite conversations are with those coaches or players who are able to articulate an idea or get information across in as few words as possible. So another way to think about this is they're basically the opposite of politicians. You can imagine a politician, at least especially here in the States, where they will get up there, they'll make a speech, they'll talk to the camera, and they'll say absolutely nothing over the course of 30 minutes or an hour. Nothing gets across, no information gets across, they avoid questions and so on. Now, my favorite interviews are the exact opposite of that. I will listen to 5 or 10 minutes. I will talk to someone for 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll want to re-listen to that over and over again, and I'll learn something new in that conversation every time. And that's what you're about to hear. Louis Cayer is possibly the best doubles coach in the world. He is the senior performance analyst for the LTA. He works with all of the top British ATP doubles players. And I chatted with him for about 25 minutes in Melbourne. And we talk about the tournament overall. He's there managing 5 teams. I ask him how he's able to do that. He talks about how some of the results had been disappointing to that point. However, less than a week later, he did have a team win the Australian Open in Henry Patten and Harri Heliovaara, whose direct coach I interviewed on the podcast several days before, which you've already heard. His name is Calvin Betton. So Louis talks about how he's able to manage 5 teams, his role with the LTA, and how he's developed this kind of British tennis system. And you're going to learn so much, whether you're into ATP doubles or just trying to improve your own game strategically. I ask him how much weight he puts on his team's strengths versus the opponent's weaknesses. He talks about the difference between the performer and the player. He uses one of his teams as an example that recently had a bad performance in the Australian Open, and he doesn't even analyze the match because they didn't show up mentally. So he talks a lot about that, and it's got me thinking since that conversation a lot about how to make sure that I am getting the most out of players mentally before I even go to the strategic side. He also talks about what he's changed in terms of his coaching style over the last 20 years. We talk about mistakes that he's made. He talks a lot about language that he uses with his players. And this is something that I'm trying to improve on myself, and I really want to emphasize it for you. This language might not only apply to coaches, but it also applies to you as a doubles partner. If you're somebody who listens to this podcast, you're very into strategy, you may not play with players who are as tactically minded as you all the time. So how do you get them bought in? It's a question I get a lot from a lot of you. I want to do I formation, but my partner just wants to do regular and he doesn't want to think about all that stuff. Well, Louis has some specific tips in terms of language that you can use to try to get them bought in to these types of tactics. He also talks about how the game has evolved. And then we talk about rule changes on the ATP Tour and what we can do to make doubles more popular. So whether you're into the Pro Tour, whether you're into your own game, you can hear how excited I am about this episode. I'm definitely going to re-listen to it here very soon, and then probably multiple times throughout the throughout the year because I learned so much. But if you're involved in doubles at all, this is really a must-listen interview with Louis Cayer. So without further delay, enjoy this super insightful and helpful conversation with Louis Cayer. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I am back in Melbourne, and this time we have one of the best doubles coaches in the world on. We have Louis Cayer. Louis, welcome.
Nice. Thanks for doing this with me, Will.
Yeah, of course. So how has Melbourne been so far? You've got two teams into the quarterfinals tomorrow. How have the 2 weeks been for you?
It's been quite good. I think we don't have any issue with practicing really here. Of course, practicing on site, but they have NTC, Albert Reserve, stretch. There's a lot of place. So training, which is important because my job is to train the players, is not an issue. Was here with 4 teams. We have a WhatsApp group and we timed the practice that nobody practiced at the same time. So the players have learned to work together, being very cooperative. They learn to support. They all wish that each of the other teams succeed in the tournament. There is no envy. So I'm quite pleased to have created I would call that the British double system, the system where players support each other. So that was good. As a result, our concern, 2 teams out of the 4 in the quarter. I was expecting a third team, which was Joe Salisbury and Neal Skupski. Let's say their opponent played very well, but they will agree a counter performance. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not a good day for them. And so I was expecting, which happened quite often, to have 3 British teams in their quarters. So that's it. And there's a player, Luke Johnson, now, who played with Sander Aarons, and they start to really progressing well. They lost 7-6, 7-6, but it was a very, very high-level match. So I'm quite pleased. Beside one match, I'm quite pleased with the way it went so far.
Awesome. So we've got 2 British teams into the quarters. It sounds like you were expecting 3. But I emailed you before the tournament to try to set this up, and you said you're managing 5 teams here, which seems like a ton. And then this morning I messaged you on WhatsApp knowing that neither of your 2 teams in the quarters played today, thinking you'd have more free time. And you sent me a message saying that you were on court from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you seem unbelievably busy. How do you manage 5 teams? How does this all work for you? It seems very...
It is very difficult.
Yeah.
But, a few years ago, the LTA said we have to become decentralized. So therefore, each team needed a traveling coach. Mm. So even if I'm often the kind of a bracket leading coach, because sometimes the traveling coach, I know them already, like Neal Skupski, it's Ken, which I coach for 8 years, Joe Salisbury. I know that pretty much everybody. I've either mentored them, coach them, stuff like this. I'm quite often the leading coach, giving the objective and all this, but I'm not traveling full time with them. And so my point is the traveling coach take care of practice court, practice ball, whatever, all the organizational is done. So my main thing is to look at the match. We have someone scouting the opponents, like you do sometimes for the American. Mm-hmm. So I receive, like today, the scouting, all the match are tagged. So I can see, for example, for the next opponent, just their second serve on that court, just the return of just the eye formation when they do it. I can see pretty much whatever I need. And then I'm part of the group to share what I think we need to do to beat them. Mm-hmm. And after their match, today, write down the practice, the thing that we need to refine for the next round. So it's quite easy because I have each team have their own traveling coach to do everything and to so that's it. It's like we work really as a team. So each team has a coach, and then I'm kind of I'll call that consultant leading coach. Yeah. It's kind of a funny role because I'm supplied by the LTA, but the players and their traveling coach agree that leading the direction
Yeah.
that the team should go. But
Okay.
it would not be possible without a traveling coach, and it would not be possible without the scouting done in London by the LTA scouting team.
Of course. Yeah. And it's obviously a system that's had a ton of success over the years. I want to ask a strategy question real quick that I always like to ask people. How much weight do you put on your team's strengths versus the opponent's weakness?
I think every coach will say on big points, you have to match your strengths against the weakness. So I think it's makes up a balance, but we're gonna, I'll look at the weakness, and if it can be matched with, this is the way we play, this is our strength, and we can attack that weakness without changing our game style,
Sure.
then we're going to do it for sure. There's no problem with that. If their weakness means that we have to change all our game style, then we're going to hesitate a tiny bit.
Okay.
So, but at that level, the weaknesses are not so big. What I look is on the scouting is more at what they never do. So if you'll see when you scout up, because you're doing that more and more, you will see that sometimes they never poach on regular, or they will never poach on second, or they will never serve T from regular on that side, or they will never serve wide on high. And if you look at the stats, and what never happened is really solid based on several match, then the receiver can cheat. Stuff like this. So for me, some weakness is lack of uncertainty or lack of ability to see everything. And that's match our strength, because then it means like we're going to modify our positioning and be able to return more offensively. And that's it. Or some players will never lob opponents who will really close in. So I think for me, a definition of anticipation, because everybody talk about anticipation. Anticipation for me, it's either read technically or predict tactically what the player will do or will never do. And I think as me, when I scout, it's not try to see what they always do, because it's rare. They always have a variation. It's more looking at what they don't do. And that's very, very instrumental to win matches, in my opinion, of course.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It's so nuanced, and that question doesn't have like a clear answer, which is why you have the long answer there. I'm curious, what's something, you've been coaching doubles for a long time. What is something that you've either changed your opinion on or changed about your coaching style in the last, say, 20 years or so?
Coaching style has to change because society changed. You cannot talk the same way. You cannot be as directive. You cannot be as forceful as many years ago, when it was even the trend in coaching to be like tough guy and stuff like this. So not that I was very tough, but things change, communication change. You have to learn to more, when you mature, when you're a bit younger coach, you want to feel that you make a difference, feel almost needed. And when you get older, you really want to empower your player, that you're not needed. And to be like this, you have to have matured a lot, because it's always kind of feel good for a coach to feel needed. But how can you empower someone and be needed all the time? So I changed a lot in my vocabulary. So instead of saying, well, you have to, you must, you need to, I want you to, I will say, well, look at the possibility. It may be preferable. Consider the option of, and I will give you a lot of empowering words where you're going to make your own decision on the court. So that's my vocabulary. I've changed a lot. I've worked a lot on responsibility. If a player say the opponent make me lose my concentration, or my opponent annoy me, then they have to rephrase. I get annoyed when the opponent do that. I lose my concentration when the referee do that. Okay, so now that you have acknowledged that you're not a victim and you're responsible for the way you feel, now we can deal with it. So I've learned a lot to empower people, give them more autonomy, develop responsibility instead of victimizing. And I think that's a lot. On the tactical point, about 8 years ago, the theme of the training camp of all the breeds was how to beat these deep singles players, because suddenly they were both back, serving, staying back, ripping their ground strokes. And all our tactics was to poach a lot in first volley, closing on first volley. It was all based, because I don't know, 10 years ago, there was very few people staying back. I remember Cal Inman telling me, yeah, I play doubles, but I don't play proper doubles. I serve and stay back. Now he will say, do you play doubles? Yes. I serve, stay back, and rip my forehand. So last time I checked, it was maybe a year and a half ago, 55% of the top 100 players were staying back in the serve. So that has changed so much compared to 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I have to change a lot of that, how to play against both back. A lot of tactics have changed because of the singles players serving, staying back, and a lot of both back. So, and a lot of hard hitting, which is intimidating. So if you watch the Brit now, they're not allowed to defend on the volleys. They were hitting hard, they were defending, and they were always losing the point. They always counterattack on the volley. Mm-hmm. Ball comes hard, you will see it. It will go back over the net all the time. Mm-hmm. I prefer they miss few on the white tape and play defensive, and then feeling completely dominated by the power of the ground strokes. And that has worked quite well. We start to be very, very top singles players, which maybe a few years ago we would have lost to.
I see.
So that's what I changed mostly tactically.
Yeah. Yes. The kind of language advice seems like good advice just for life in general, taking ownership and kind of empowering, if you're a CEO or if you're a manager of people, empowering your employees. Yeah, and then that tactical advice at the end.
Yeah. And the reason I give these two answers is because in our British system, we have what we call the performer and the player. And the player knows that if they didn't perform, come with their head, heart, and legs on the match. We don't do match analysis. We don't do video report. We don't do that. Like the match that I said was disappointing. We did no debrief, no match analysis, no stats, because the performer was not there. So why to say, your service, why to blame the technique and the tactics, but in fact, you didn't show up for the match. So for me, being a high performance coach is, the word says, develop performers. So it's to be able to work at the level of identity, belief, attitude, mindset, values. And if I cannot, as a coach, transform people, not just inform them, form them, my job is to transform these any limitation at the performer level. If I can do that, then I can develop number ones. If I cannot do that, if I just work at the level of the player, hitting the ball and tactic, I will develop good teams, but no champion, no slam champions, stuff like this. So for me, performer and players are two aspects that the coach have to always coach at the same time.
Makes sense. So 2 more questions for you. What is a mistake that you've made and learned from over the last, say, 10 years or so?
Well, made many. Most frequent, I think, was probably, and I'm getting better, was to maybe be a bit too directive, kind of, and my language was probably creating a bit of anxiety or stress. Okay, you have to, you need to poach a lot. You have to return line. You have to do this. And just think about it. If you say you have to see me tomorrow versus you want to see me tomorrow, the energy is very different, right? So, that was a mistake. I think I was putting some stress on the players. And now I would say for sure, 100%, you could consider return line against that team. It may be preferable you hit a bit more lines against that team. You may choose to hit a bit more lines against that team. All words that I'm not putting pressure on them, but of course I know I influence them a lot, that they will probably do it, but it will be their decision, their choice, their liking, their wanting, and not mine.
So what do you do if you say that and they don't return in line? And in your mind
I say, I mentioned that I thought it was probably preferable that you had more line against that. So what makes you decide to do that? But I thought they were not poaching a lot. Okay, I understand. Okay, that makes sense. But was the guy squeezing in the middle a lot, and did he take most of your crosscourt? Yeah. So sometimes they poach, but sometimes they squeeze a lot. So this is a team that squeeze a lot in the middle. You have to keep them quiet, put down line and say, okay. And the next time they play, they will do it.
Okay.
But I will not blame them. I will always say, and I don't say the word why. Why it puts you on defensive right away. Why did you do that? So what makes you decide to return more things that invite a relation, but you're not in trouble?
Yeah.
Why didn't you return like I suggest? No. So what makes you decide to go more across? And if you engage in a non-threatening communication, then they can talk freely. Then you really see how they think, and then you can realign them and make them learn.
That's good. This is deep psychological stuff here. I like it a lot.
But it's that's what coaching is all about. Right?
Yeah, it's good. So last topic I want to talk about. I want to get your thoughts on some of the rule changes that the ATP has experimented with over the last year, and then also what you would like to see going forward for ATP doubles.
I'll start right away with what I would like to see: respect for the doubles. They do a website, they do everything, promotion. They don't include the doubles. So if the ATP itself as an organization don't promote the doubles, they don't put it on their social media, they don't put it there, how do you think the media who goes on it will feed on that and go in the media and so on? It's a vicious circle. I think ATP blame their anyway, they should take more accountability to promote the doubles. And there's some vibe who feel that some pressure with the tournament director or whatever to really get rid of the doubles or to just have singles players. I don't have good vibes for that. I'm not very happy about that. And I think they should just acknowledge that doubles is an art in itself. And to say that they want to promote more the doubles by testing them, by playing top 50 players, like that, the rule. Say in which way to promote the doubles, that if Dadig or whatever, do not take my players, top 10 players, lose 50 singles, which they can, because it's not easy to win a doubles match. It's not promoting doubles at all. So it's kind of the opposite. Anyway, I think there's some things that's okay. I think it's okay. It's shorter, as long as it's being used for TV, which it doesn't. We were supposed to have more center courts exposure. It was mentioned, never happens. So they do some promise that doesn't happen. So that contribute to create a bit frustration in the doubles world. Then the thing about coaching, we were doing it anyway before, because it has to be short. You cannot get and make a deep conversation. So, and there's so much you coach because you do the game plan before. So most of the time it's just a realignment or a short change. So you don't have to sit and talk 10 minutes. So nothing that I do more that I was not doing before, except I don't have to kind of hide or fake I cough hi, for more eye formation.
Yeah.
So now I could just say, come on, more eye formation.
Yeah.
But beside that, that's okay. And then there was a time nobody liked it and the ATP stopped it to rush it between point. It was way too short. Everybody ate that. And I think the ATP acknowledged it. Yeah. So I think they have learned that some prior rule change didn't work. And some others, they tried to involve more the singles, which is fine. And, but just please promote the doubles. And that's all I want to say. Yeah. Promote the doubles. They deserve it. It's a good product. It's a nice, you cover doubles, you know how exciting it is. Yeah. So let's promote it. And you're a good way of promoting it, Will. So
I'm trying my best.
Keep doing that. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. It seems like I was encouraged last year that they were starting to experiment and try new things. But to me, a lot of the changes were to the product and not the promotion.
Exactly.
And they need more changes on the promotion side, because I am with you. I talked with Calvin the other day. I think the product's great. when I go sit in the stands, you're in the coaching box and you're focused, so maybe you don't hear it as much, but I'm sitting in the stands with all the fans and they're all oohing and eyeing about the points and the skills and they're all excited. Yeah. I never hear people say, this is boring, I'm leaving. Like that doesn't happen. So I think the promotion side, I'm with you, needs a lot more help for
exactly. Sure. You said 2 key words, exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
100%. Awesome, Louis. This was a ton of fun. Hopefully we'll be able to do it again sometime, and good luck the rest of the tournament and the rest of the season. Thank you.
And keep your great work. I'm a member of it. I watch your product, what you're doing, and it's very, very well done. And I'm looking, especially when you write about the club members, because I don't coach a lot of club members, and I'm always very curious to see what you say to promote doubles at the club membership, and it's very interesting, and I enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Doubles Only podcast. If you're interested in diving deeper into any topics I discuss, I've created doubles strategy products that allow me to bring you more podcasts and other doubles content without relying on paid ads. I have ebooks and courses that help you make better strategic decisions during matches and become the smartest player on the court. Go to thetennistribe.com/products to learn more. You can also join my free weekly doubles strategy newsletter that includes video lessons and more on our homepage. If you want to connect, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or email me directly, will@thetennistribe.com.